On today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, that TV show Suits, it's just set the all-time record for most weeks at number one. We're going to discuss that. Also, with the sad passing of Ray Stevenson, should Star Wars recast the role of Baylan? Also, there's a report out there that says they've got the titles for all the upcoming episodes of Marvel's What If Season 2. Speaking of streaming, there's a lot of price increases going on, and we're going to talk about all the different price increases that are coming this month. And on top of that, Thursday Night TV is awesome again. We're going to talk about Gen V Episode 4. We're going to talk about Loki Season 2 Episode 1. That and a whole bunch more. The John Campea Show podcast starts right now. Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming to you from right here in our quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, TV and streaming, and all sorts of good things, not just giving you our opinions, but hopefully giving you some information and context so you guys can form your own well-informed opinions, whether they're the same or completely different from ours. I'm joined in studio today by Ray Ora.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Jonathan Voico's right here.
Hello.
And joining us today, but not in studio, Gotham Geek Girl Nadia Martinez is here all the way from New York. Nadia, how you doing?
Hey.
Good. Happy to see you guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great. Nadia was actually down visiting LA a while ago. She got to come in, see the studio, and hang out with us for a bit. We're going to tell you all about her. If you guys don't already follow her, where you can find her on Instagram, YouTube, we're going to discuss that a little bit later. All right, guys, here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about all those topics that I just listed off, and then we're going to go over and start taking questions from you guys. If you guys who are watching live have a comment or question on any of the stuff we're discussing, you can go ahead and use the super chat feature and send that in. And we're also going to take topics and questions from our beloved YouTube channel members who we asked a little bit earlier today to start sending in some topics, and we'll get to those just a little bit later. All right, guys, with all that down, let's jump into it, and we're going to start with this. The TV show Suits, that aired like 7 years ago on the USA Network, has just broken the record, the all-time record, for the most weeks in a row as the number one streaming show in the world. You know what show was? Either you guys want to take a guess what was the number one streaming show in the world? That did hold the record for most weeks in number one?
Maybe Yellowstone. I don't know.
No, that's I don't think that's considered streaming.
Was it Parks and
you're
Rec?
right.
No, it wasn't Parks and Rec. What's that?
Ozark?
It was Ozark. Ozark
Cheater. Nadia's
was
cheating.
number one
I love Ozark.
for 11 weeks in a row, and Suits has just broken that record for 12 weeks in a row as the number one streaming show in the world. Let's go over and take a look at the charts. This comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter, by the way. So Suits, again, this past week came in as the number one stream show in the world at 2.36 billion minutes viewed. Number two was Virgin River on Netflix. I never even heard of this show until earlier today. I went and looked it up, but it's the number two streaming show in the world at 1.92 billion minutes. Netflix's One Piece comes in at number three at 1.39. Now, if you're looking at the screen here, if you're watching the YouTube video and you're looking at the screen, the reason I have Virgin River and One Piece in yellow is because those are actually original shows. And only two of the top 10 streaming shows in the world are originals. It's just Virgin River and One Piece. Anyway, at number four, Disney's The Little Mermaid got 1.37 billion streams. SWAT on Hulu, Netflix, and Paramount Plus got 1.04 billion. Bluey, Ray. Yeah. Bluey came in at number six on Disney Plus at 973 million minutes streamed. At number seven, Grey's Anatomy at 864. NCIS comes in at number eight. Coco Melon, which I'm not familiar with.
Sounds delicious.
Sounds wonderful, though. Comes in at 587 million. And at number 10, The Big Bang Theory came in at max at 561 million. Now, let's just go over for a second. Look at, we mentioned there's only two original shows on the overall list. If we do look at originals, it comes in at this. Obviously, number one is Virgin River. Number two is One Piece. Number three, Wheel of Time. Number four, Dear Child on Netflix. Number five, Only Murders in the Building. At number six, Who is Aaron Carter? At number seven, Disney Plus's Ahsoka. At number eight, Special Ops. At number nine, Futurama. And at number 10, Disenchantment. With in the last 7 spots there, 459, 342, 313, and 298 million minutes viewed overall. This is an astonishing feat. You know what this is kind of like? This is kind of like the GameStop and AMC meme stocks. This Suits thing, this little show that not a lot of people watched when it was on the USA Network, probably because it was on the USA Network. But then a lot of people starting to discover it. And I'll tell you what, I'm one of those people. And I love this show.
Yeah.
This show it's a fantastic show. I thought it ended a little weak, but whatever. For 6.5 of the 7 seasons or whatever it was absolutely phenomenal. Anyway, Nadia, you had a chance to see, the list. It breaks this all-time record, 12 weeks in a row at number 1. Did you ever watch Suits? And if so, or if not, what do you attribute it staying that high in the ratings for so long?
I actually have not watched it, but I'm intrigued. I feel like that's one of the blessings of streaming, that you can go back and watch really old shows.
Yeah.
I'm excited to check it out. I mean, if it beat Ozark, that's pretty crazy. And they said it only took 12 weeks.
Well, it's been 12 weeks at number 1. It's been in the number 1 spot for 12 weeks in a row. I was actually surprised to find out that Ozark, because I'll be honest, Ozark is one of those shows that everybody loves, that I watched about 3 or 4 episodes, Ann and I watched it, and it wasn't really for us. But I was actually kind of surprised to find out that it would spend like 11 weeks in a row.
That's Jason Bateman, right?
That's the Jason Bateman show.
Yeah, my neighbors were addicted to that show. They watched that show.
Rob's addicted to that show too.
You know what? I'm surprised didn't make the list, because it's been playing all week at my place.
What's that?
Beavis and Butthead, baby. I like the new Beavis and Butthead season, because instead of music videos, they start doing the viral videos. They start like doing their little commentary.
Oh, really?
With like TikToks or whatever. So I love it. It's still the old Beavis and Butthead.
Right.
But it's like when you were
no more music
Yeah,
generation.
but just to point out, it is not on the top 10.
No. I'm just shocked.
It's on Ray's top 10.
Come on, America.
I'm actually kind of surprised, at some of the results. Like, again, if we looked at the original show's top 10, like One Piece, man. One Piece has been doing real well. I mean, if you compare it against something like Only Murders in the Building or something like Ahsoka, it's it's got triple the amount of views that some like popular shows like Only Murders in the Building, which I adore, Ahsoka. Like, it's just crazy how good that's, and this Virgin River show that I'd never even heard of until today.
I just finished episode 1 of One Piece.
Is that all you can get through?
And I actually like it. I just don't know when I'm going to continue it. The episodes are so long.
Nadia, have you been watching any of like One Piece or Virgin River or the new season of Wheel of Time or any of that stuff that's like these top 3 shows on the streaming ratings right now?
So I actually have not. Virgin River, I only glimpsed at it because I noticed one of the actors from Grey's Anatomy.
Right.
So that was kind of like, oh, maybe I'll check that one day as like a filler when I need to watch something that's like not as negative or as crazy as all the violence and Marvel shows and anime, like a palate cleaner.
Yeah.
Yes. Speaking of Grey's Anatomy, that show's been around forever. And except for Virgin River and One Piece, Grey's Anatomy still has more people watching it than any other original streaming show. More than Wheel of Time, more than Only Murders, more than Ahsoka, more than Special Ops, more than Futurama. It's crazy how popular that show stayed.
Olive was addicted to Grey's Anatomy.
Is she?
That was her show. That was her show right there.
All right. With that down, guys, let's move on to this, shall we? Ahsoka just had its series finale. I did not think the show was very good, but it had a lot of people who really did enjoy it. But even somebody like me who didn't think the show was all that good, one of the things that I thought they really nailed was this great new villain, Baylan. He was incredible, portrayed by the always awesome Ray Stevenson, who's now passed away, unfortunately. This is a character that was not your stereotypical one-dimensional mustache twirling evil for the sake of evil, kind of thing. He wasn't one of those guys at all. He had, he's the ultimate kind of villain, the one who also really perceived himself as looking out for the greater good. And he had conviction, and even the thought of killing Ahsoka to him was, it's a shame. I'd rather not. There's not many Jedi left. I don't want to kill Ahsoka if we don't have to or anything like that. He was just a fabulous villain. I hated the fact that they ended it with just leaving what it was he was doing completely open-ended and not bringing any closure to it at all, but whatever. Now, the questions become, and we've seen a lot of people bring this up online, is what do they do with the Baylan character now? Because a sort of similar situation happened, obviously, with Black Panther, that we lost the great Chadwick Boseman, and Disney and Marvel had a decision to make. Do we just write the character off, or do we recast the character and carry the character on? I thought they made a mistake. I thought they should have carried the character on. I still believe that would have been the best way to honor Chadwick Boseman, is to continue on this magnificent character that he helped bring to life. And I think Black Panther Wakanda Forever suffered for the fact that they lost their main character. Well, now Disney and Lucasfilm kind of face something of a similar situation. They've set up this fantastic new character. And granted, it's going to be very, very difficult for a lot of us who watched Rey play this character and play him so well to imagine somebody else playing him. But I got to say, I'm going to fall on the side that, yeah, I 100% believe they should recast it. Rey helped bring this incredible, one of the best Star Wars villains we've seen in a long time, and brought him to life, actually gave breath and a heartbeat to it and all that kind of stuff. And even though it's going to be weird at first to maybe see this character in the future, whether it's in a second season of Ahsoka or whether it's in something else altogether, I just think they would be serving the overall story better. They'd be serving the overall world of Star Wars better if they recast him, even though I confess recasting him is not going to be easy. But I think ultimately it's what's best for the story. I think it's what's best for Star Wars. And I think it's the best way to honor Rey, as well as to carry that character on. Anyway, Nadia, I mean, it always sucks when we have to have a situation like this. Like we've just had this person who just did such a magnificent job playing this character, no longer with us. And I can understand arguments to be made about maybe not recasting the character and just letting the character go. But what do you think ultimately they should do with this Baylan character? And what do you think they will do? So two different questions. What should they do and what will they do? What do you think?
So first, he finished filming before he passed, right?
Yes, yeah.
They
He did all
completed
his
the whole
shooting
season.
and all of his filming long before he passed away, yeah.
So I don't know. It's tough. Like, he's a beloved actor. He's been in Dexter. He's been in Vikings. He's been in Thor. He played the Punisher. He's even been in Star Wars as a voice actor in Star Wars Rebels and Clone Wars. So I think he has like an attachment to Star Wars. Like, he was already a fan. And according to interviews, it seems like he was really like excited for this role. So I feel like that's always like when somebody kind of embodies like a character or becomes like attached to it. And Disney Plus keeps pushing out so many shows, but I don't know. I feel like he had an attachment to this character, so it's tough. But I have not finished the series, so it's fair for me to say how like how long this character could be, like if he could come back. But if he is a major villain for this, then maybe recast him, but in an honorable way. And they did a tribute for him for the first episode, right? I recall.
Yeah, I remember that ended by saying for our friend Rey or something like that.
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, not you.
No, I'm sorry about that.
So yeah, it's going to be a tough thing to do. I mean, there's no true right or true wrong answer to the question about should they recast him. For me personally, I think recasting the character is the best way to move forward.
The character sounds very important. I mean, well, not very important, but it sounds like something you can't just like.
I mean, theoretically, they could just leave the character.
Just leave it as it was.
Like the show ends with him stranded on a planet, which is by his choice and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, it wouldn't be narratively difficult to just move on without the character. I just think it would be a shame because I think this is one of the best Star Wars villains they've given us in a while. And I just think it would be better for the world to move on. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Let's move on here. Next up. You know, a lot of people liked Marvel's What If. I didn't. I mean, I thought a couple of the episodes of Marvel's What If were really good, to be honest. I think most of them were just kind of a waste of time, but whatever. What If Season 2 is coming out, and a number of people are actually really quite excited about it. Well, according to CBR, at least what I'm being told, according to CBR put out a list of what is being reported as the actual titles for the upcoming what they're saying is going to be 10 episodes of What If Season 2. For those of you not familiar with What If is like an animated thing that Marvel does that kind of imagines, like in Season 1, like what if Steve Rogers never took the super soldier serum and Carter took it instead? That sort of thing. It's kind of a really neat idea. I like the idea. It's kind of carried over something from the comic tradition. So here, again, according to the reports that are out there, is what they are saying are the 10 titles for the upcoming episodes of What If Season 2. Episode 1, what if Nebula joined the Nova Corps? Episode 2, what if Peter Quill attacked Earth's mightiest heroes? Episode 3, what if Kahori reshaped the world? Episode 4, what if Hela found the 10 rings? That's interesting to me. Episode 5, what if Iron Man crashed into the Grandmaster? Episode 6, what if Happy Hogan saved Christmas? Okay, sign me up. I want to see that one. I'm really excited about that one, actually. Episode 8, what if Captain Carter fought the Hydra Stomper? Episode 9, what if the Avengers assembled in 1602? And episode 10, what if Strange Supreme intervened? That Avengers assembled in 1602, that reminds me a little bit of like, what was it called? Batman by Gaslight?
Yeah,
Gaslight?
Yeah, Batman by Gaslight Lamp or Gaslight.
There was a run of comics that was like Spider-Man 1602 and whatever.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. So it's based off of that.
Nadia, were you a big fan of like What If Season 1? And regardless of that, do any of these titles for the What If stuff, do any of these excite you or stand out to you?
I think with What If, like in terms from like the comics, it was a really exciting way for them to like explore like altered events, and kind of tell stories in a way that you wouldn't be able to, I guess, like kind of get around like the constraints of like continuity.
Right.
So it's kind of a way to like, like show ideas like Peggy. We may not have seen Captain Carter. We did now in the live action eventually for the multiverse. But it's like sometimes those events that we want to see, we may not get to. So What If is pretty exciting. Like the T'Challa Star-Lord. I love that episode.
Oh, that one was good. Are there any of these 10 that we just listed off sound appealing to you or get you excited?
I'm curious to see if there's like a Nebula and Gamora like head to head.
Well, the one they call is the one they've got here is What If Nebula joined the Nova Corps?
The Nova Corps.
So that'd be kind of interesting to see, I suppose. What's that?
Nova.
I
love Nova, baby.
I still got to tell you, even though, like, first of all, Happy Hogan saved Christmas. Okay, that sounds pretty cool. What was the other one that sounded kind of neat to me? Oh, yeah, Hela finding the 10 rings. That's appealing to me. But again, I just kind of find the What If thing to be a bit of a waste. The first season, there was a couple episodes I thought were really good, but a lot of them were just, eh.
And it sounds like they're just relying on what's been happening on the live action. I wish they just went into just characters, just the Sentry kills everybody, something like that.
Oh, like feature characters that haven't been in the live action movies.
That haven't been in the MCU. Just go.
So
with
more
it.
like an Elseworlds kind of thing.
I think it would help. Maybe in the introduction of like new characters, maybe if you set them off in just these little episodes that don't have any consequence to anything, introduce the Sentry. If he's going to be in the Thunderbolts, introduce him in a short What If, just to get fans like, oh, I remember him from What If,
But I don't think What If is something you can introduce somebody in, because you're not actually introducing them the way the audience is meant to know them, right? Because it's a different thing. So basically, if you try to introduce a character in What If, you're telling the audience, hey, here's your first exposure to this character. Oh, but now that we're in the real MCU, forget everything that you thought about him. This is a totally different thing. So it kind of defeats the purpose
And it's
a little
not
bit
canon.
of introducing them.
We thought it was canon. Like when it was leading up to Multiverse of Madness, we thought, oh, that's that Doctor Strange, but it's not. It's none of it's like linked to the movies.
All right, guys, listen. We still have to talk about all the price increases for the various streaming services. We're going to talk about Gen V episode 4. We're going to talk about Loki season 1 or season 2 episode 1. But before we get to those, we're going to take a quick second here and thank a couple of sponsors of today's episode. Our friends, the most comfortable shoes I've ever owned at Vessi, and the people who deliver some of the best meals to me, HelloFresh. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of this video, Vessi. Now, you guys know I'm not exactly the most fashion conscious guy in the world, but I love a great pair of shoes that are comfortable and I can wear almost anywhere. And growing up in Canadian winters when my feet got wet a lot, waterproof would be nice too. Enter Vessi. They make the claim that they're not just fashionable and super comfortable, they're also waterproof. Now, you guys remember, when I got my first pair of Vessis, I put them to the ultimate waterproof test. I actually stuck my foot in my pool, my feet stayed dry, and the shoes stayed dry. Incredible. And they're the most comfortable pair of shoes I ever owned. Well, that made me want another pair. So I got another pair of Vessis that look great and just equal that world-class comfort that I got from that first pair of shoes. They are absolutely my favorite shoes that I've ever owned. Imagine your favorite sneaker styles supercharged with waterproof technology and unmatched comfort. No matter how you like to stay active, Vessi has the shoes for you. Trail-ready high tops, effortless slip-ons, and classic court shoes, all with a waterproof twist. They are just as comfortable and stylish as your favorite sneakers, but even more versatile. So if you're like me and you want good-looking shoes that are ready for anything, rain or shine, make sure you go to vessi.com/Campea and get yourself a pair today. Go to vessi.com/Campea and get shoes for your best summer yet. Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of this video, HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Kickstart a fresh fall routine with HelloFresh. HelloFresh handles all the meal planning and shopping to deliver everything you need to cook up a tasty meal right at home. They do the hard part and you get to take the credit. HelloFresh takes the stress out of mealtime by delivering fresh ingredients and easy recipes right to your door. So this fall, skip that extra trip to the grocery store and have dinner ready in no time with America's #1 meal kit. Like we've mentioned before, Ann and I are both working professionals and mealtime is sometimes a bit stressful. That's why we absolutely love HelloFresh. It's nutritious, it's delicious, and we actually have a really good time making dinner together. So guys, go to HelloFresh.com/50Campea and use the code 50Campea for 50% off plus free shipping. That's HelloFresh.com/50Campea and use the code 50Campea for 50% off plus free shipping. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. And thank you to our friends at Vessi and HelloFresh for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that down, let's get on to this here, shall we? Streaming prices continue to go up. And we've talked about that a lot recently about, various streaming prices, the services going up, but they seem to be going up across the board and they seem to be going up at a pretty exponential rate. Like when something costs $9, and it's like your price increase, okay, you expect it to go up to like maybe $9.25 or $9.50. But we're seeing like streaming costs and streaming prices and the cost of these services going up at a really rapid rate. It was not long ago that Disney Plus just launched. And didn't it, what was it, $6.99? Mm-hmm. Something like that. $6.99, and as of today, I'm paying almost double that at $10.99, basically $11. But guess what? It's going up even more. And just to highlight, here's the price increases coming this month.
Woo!
Discovery Plus. Not a lot of you, I'm sure not a lot of you guys who watch a show like mine are subscribed to Discovery Plus. I do. I need to unsubscribe to it because I've got Max, but Discovery Plus, their ad-free plan is going up $2. It's going up from $6.99 to $8.99. This month, Disney Plus's ad-free plan is going up from $10.99 to $13.99, which now means it's official. The cost of Disney Plus's ad-free plan is now going to be double what it was when they just launched a couple of years ago. Hulu, which is one of my favorite streaming services, their ad-free plan is going up from $14.99 to $17.99.
They better get their act together.
And as we talked about the other day, we don't have a specific date yet for when it's happening, but as the Wall Street Journal reported the other day, we talked about it on the show, Netflix is planning on raising their ad-free plan price again, but they're going to wait until after the SAG strike is done before they make those announcements. So, I mean, just there right now, a couple of the staple streaming networks, Disney, Hulu. I mean, if you subscribe to a couple of these, you're looking at paying another $10, $11, $12 a month, maybe more, just for the services you have. And it feels like just about 6 months ago, you also started paying another $10, $11, $12, $13 a month.
I think Max went up Previously.
Max went up previously.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, they've all gone up, but we're talking about like just this month.
Yeah.
These things are going up, and soon after we got Netflix going up, and I'm pretty sure that the price increases do not stop there. Now, it's not a coincidence that all these price increases are for the ad-free plans. You guys remember, we talked about this before, that all of these streamers, now that they're getting on board with getting ad-supported plans, basically commercials, they're trying to herd all of us to go to the ad-supported plan because they make more money off of us watching commercials than they do of us paying for ad-free plans. That extra $3 or $4 we pay for the ad-free, yeah, they'd make a lot more than 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 extra bucks off us a month if we were watching the commercials on their streaming service. So they're trying more and more to shepherd us over and corral us into there. And I think a time is coming when the ad-free service, the ad-free options are still going to be available, but they're not going to be $3, $4, or $5 more than the ad-supported. They're going to be 2, 3, or 4 times more. So if you're paying like $10 a month for an ad-supported plan with commercials, I think you're going to be paying $25 to $30 a month for the ad-free. I think that's coming, and I think that's coming soon. So these new price increases are not going to stop now. Nadia, we were talking on the show the other day about, I still think most of these streaming services, what you're asked to pay for them, you're getting a good value for it. Like you're getting a lot of content. But as the prices continue to go up, I think a lot of people are going to start hitting that point of now it's too much. Do you think we're already at that point where people are now having to really reduce and pick and choose which services they're going to have and which they don't? And if not, how much more do you think they're going to be able to charge us before people start dropping these services? What do you think?
I've been joking for years that we need to go back to cable, that it's going to be just as expensive. And it's literally happening. Like it's crazy. I still love Netflix. I still love Hulu. I still love Max, Disney Plus here and there. But it's just getting to the point where it's like, you have to pick and choose. Like I missed the Continental because I'm not getting Peacock. I do still want to watch it at some point, but it's like, I feel like what people do now is they wait for there to be a lot of content or for a season to be almost over.
Right.
And then you'll get that. And then you'll try like the trial package and like, oh, let me try the free 3 months and watch.
Ray makes a career out of doing that. Ray does that as a career.
That's my thing.
And with stars now. So it's like, yeah, people have to kind of pick and choose what they want to watch because it's getting just as expensive as cable. It's crazy.
I'm curious about you. I have become an anti-commercial snob, I admit. Like Hulu was the first thing I signed up for. That was for when they offered an ad-free plan. And now I don't like watching commercials at all if I can avoid it. So I am paying for all the top tier of the streaming services so I don't have to watch the ads, but I may have to change that pretty soon. Are you, for some of the streaming services you're subscribed to, are you on the ad-free plans? Are you on the commercial supported plans? Which ones are you on right now?
Ad-free.
Yeah, it's hard to go back, right? Like once you get a show and you get a streaming service where you're not having to watch commercials, it suddenly feels kind of jarring when commercials start coming on. But I don't know. Listen, and here's the thing. This is part of their master plan. Their plan is to make us go, well, we might as well go to the ad support. That's what they want us to do. Of course. And that just makes me want to go, no, I'm going to stay with my ad-free plan.
The sharing crackdown, though, is what's hurting. Because with like Netflix, I'll have like a shared account. And like, I'll share that one. And then like my friend will share like Max. So it's like, if they get rid of that, everyone's going to have to each individually get every single app.
Yeah, and Netflix already started doing that. Disney announced they're going to start cracking down, and it's only going to be a matter of time before the rest of them do as well. All right. With that down, guys, let's talk about this, shall we? Thursday night is now suddenly TV night. It's like the great night because we've got Loki is now playing, but Gen V. Of course, last week, Gen V, which is the spinoff show of The Boys, they launched by dropping 3 episodes. And listen, I think that is the absolute model that streaming shows should do. Ray and I were talking about this off camera before, that by dropping multiple episodes to start, you really give an audience person a chance to get connected to the show. And then you go week to week, episode to episode after that, right? It's brilliant. I've really felt that a lot with a lot of shows, and so much so that now when I watch a new show that just drops their first episode, I'm like, I don't know if I'm completely connected to it yet. But when you do things like Hulu's done this for a while too, you drop 2 episodes to start or drop 3 episodes to start, you really get a true sense of the show. You really get connected to it, because last week when I watched the first 3 episodes of Gen V, I was just drooling, waiting for the next episode. I could not wait for the next episode to come. Well, last night, the next episode came. No pun intended. And it was awesome. It was so glorious. I love all the characters. And what was the name of the private eye? They got a tech something, right? The private eye soup who's got these superpowers. There he is. Who's got these superpowers he's like basically Sherlock Holmes, a superpowered Sherlock Holmes. He can detect sweat beads, heartbeat increases, all this kind of stuff. He can solve any mystery, any crime. But true to the boy's form, he's got a little sicko kink in him too, which when they showed it, my wife, Anne, literally rolled off the couch. She started laughing so hard. This guy is just humping everything he can get his dirty little hands on. Reminds me, he's like Gen V's version of Ray Aura.
Okay.
So,
okay. You were waiting for that one, huh?
I was waiting for that one all day. I've been waiting to bring that one up all day. But again, the great thing about Gen V, like the boys, is that, and I've said this many times, but it's got this really edge-pushing, juvenile, like filthy exterior with tons of sex, tons of, violence, gory violence, and all that kind of stuff. But underneath it, they have a show and a story filled with wonderfully multi-dimensional characters telling really great human stories that Rob and I said this the other week, that even if you take away the superpowered aspect and you take away the comic book aspect of it, you are still left with a really good show with really interesting characters that all have 50 shades of gray. None of them are purely good. None of them are purely bad. And I am just loving this show. And by the way, I didn't even realize Golden Boy was Arnold Schwarzenegger's son. Mm-hmm. I had no idea. I'd heard the Schwarzenegger's kid was in the show. I didn't realize that Golden Boy was actually Arnold Schwarzenegger's son. But I mean, the whole thing, the drama going on between the dude and his dad who is a trustee of the school and a famous legendary superhero himself, and finding out that his dad might be just as messed up as the villains he's training to fight. I honestly, I think Cricket is becoming one of my favorite characters, not just in Gen V, but in the whole The Boys universe. She's the most grounded, real. I love the fact that she's got this really twisted superpower. And then, of course, we get to our main character with the whole blood control thing, and her use of blood control in this, as somebody, I won't spoil it, but as somebody was trying to take advantage of her, she used her blood control in a real creative and grotesque way that made every male on the planet recoil and cringe, like, when it happened. The humor's on point. The violence is on point. The narrative and the story depth is on point. I absolutely love this show. From the moment that it ends, my mental head starts a countdown until next week when I get to see the next episode. I'm completely in love with this show. And so I totally dig it. Nadia, you had a chance to watch Gen V. You and I have never talked about this, but I don't even know if you've watched The Boys before, or if you had that background to it. Have you seen The Boys? What do you think about this world? And what did you think about the episode we saw last night?
I am obsessed with The Boys universe. I love the comic. I love the show. I think basically my way of describing it to people that haven't watched it is imagine Kanye West had superpowers. It's basically like the craziest, most like obnoxious celebrities. If they had superpowers, like that's how it would be in real life. Like Homelander, that's exactly what a superhero would be. So I think the show is amazing. They do crazy, outlandish things like the cock explosion and like all these other crazy things. But like you said, like it's grounded in so many themes of real life. Like this one they touch on like mental health, eating disorders, nepotism, like it's like teenagers like figuring out how, I guess, like how to go about being a teenager, but also having these powers. Then there's the whole like trauma of their parents forcing them to become heroes, like injecting them with compound V as children. So there's a lot of like darkness in this. And what I love is typically like with prequels, I get a little nervous, but with this, like it took any like doubts I had away. It's basically expanding on the boys universe, and it's showing us like how they got there. So like even like let's say with A-Train, like the manipulative things that he'll do to stay on top, and even the Deep, like to be in the 7.
Right.
This show really shows you like what they have to do. They have to be the best at social media. Like they have to have like the high numbers. People have to know who they are. If they save someone, it may not even matter if they're not the person that they want to have done that thing. Like it's really manipulative. Like even the teachers, everyone involved, it's all about like a persona, like a show. So it's genius. I love it.
You know, and one of the things you pointed out too is like all these stories that they're telling about, like all the different issues you mentioned, even though none of us can relate with having superpowers, like all of us can relate with at least 1 or 2 or 3 of the characters in the show and issues they're facing, right? We don't often feel that watching a Superman story. We don't often feel that watching a Batman story, but watching this story in this world of the boys, it's got this weird draw that we can kind of identify with it while it's doing all this absolutely ridiculous stuff. It's absolutely crazy, and I love it. It's part of the reasons why Thursday is must-watch TV for me. All right. With that down, guys, let's talk about the other reason Thursday is must-watch TV. Last night, Loki Season 2 had its debut. Now, I've been really of two minds on this because I didn't think Loki Season 1 was all that great. I didn't think it was terrible, but I didn't think it was all that great. And that sucks because for me, Loki, played by Tom Hiddleston, is one of my top 3 favorite characters in the MCU. I just love this character, and I love the way Tom Hiddleston plays him. And there were certainly elements of Loki Season 1 that I thought were quite good. So I actually kind of started getting excited for Loki Season 2. Well, it debuted last night. I was really nervous. Marvel's Disney Plus stuff has been very, to put it kindly, hit and miss. And we're coming off of a real weakness in Marvel's Secret Invasion. I thought that was a big miss. So I was real nervous going into this, but I'll tell you what, I really enjoyed episode 1. I really enjoyed it. And I couldn't be happier about that. As a matter of fact, if you guys remember, let me take you back a little bit. If you guys remember the other day, I listed off 5 philosophical things that I think Loki Season 2 needs to do in order to succeed, right? Well, let's take a look at those. So 1, I said, continue Loki's evolution. Make sure that the character we start with in episode 1 is a little bit changed, a little bit transformed, learned, grew, whatever by the time we get to the end of the season. Well, obviously it was only episode 1, so we're going to have to wait and see if they do Loki's evolution. But number 2, establish Kang as the universe's main threat. This whole show, even though we never saw Kang, the shadow of Kang was hanging over everything about last night's episode. And so to me, check, they did it. Point number 3, don't get lost in time travel nonsense. It's going to have a lot of time travel, but make sure you don't get lost in a lot of the mumbo jumbo. Well, what was it? All it was in time travel yesterday was basically what they did in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I was like,
Right?
this is Bill and Ted's.
It was completely Bill and Ted. It was like, whoa, how about after we're done, I time travel in the past and leave my guitar in the bushes so I'll know it's there. Reach in the bushes. There's my guitar.
Excellent.
That's exactly what they did.
I loved it.
They were using time travel, but they didn't get lost in it, right? They really simplified it. And I love the way Ki-Hu Kwan is like, no, I've never done that. Wait a minute. Yes, I have.
Yeah, you see him blink. You see his mind like shift. He blinks and then...
By the way, Academy Award winner Ki-Hu Kwan playing Obi, which is great. Actually, one of our best friends' son's name is Obi. Anyway, so Ki-Hu Kwan was magnificent in this. So don't get lost in the time travel mumble jumbo. Really, if you're going to use time travel, make it basic. And they did, and it worked really well. Also, number 4, I said they got to elevate Loki. And this was just episode 1, but the primacy of Loki was very clear. Like every scene, everything about it was the primacy of Loki. So even though we're only one episode in, I would say that's another check mark. And my number 5 thing that I said the other day that they really need to do is lean into the Loki and Mobius dynamic. A good chunk of this episode, whether it was, at the loom or whether it was in the elevators or whether it was in the hallways, we got heavy doses of Mobius and Loki together and their interaction and the dynamic. So granted, we have to wait till the end of the season to see if they're able to do point 1, which is continue Loki's evolution. But if you look at these 5 points again, number 1, continue his evolution. We'll see. Number 2, check. Establish Kang as the main threat. Number 3, don't get lost in time travel nonsense. Check. Number 4, elevate Loki. Check. Number 5, lean into the Loki Mobius dynamic. Check. They checked all the boxes. And by the end of it, I was smiling. I had a good time. It does feel like, I'm going to admit this, it does feel like it's going to be a very rushed season because we're already like 15% of the way through the entire season. And not a lot was actually accomplished when you really think about it.
We haven't even seen Thrawn yet.
We haven't even seen Thrawn. Where's Thrawn? But I got to tell you, as a first episode, as somebody who was kind of nervous going into it, as somebody who's been very dissatisfied with a lot of the Marvel offerings on Disney Plus of late, I got to say I walked away, and it's only the first episode, but I got to say I walked away from the first episode with a pretty big smile on my face. Nadia, did you have a chance to check out Loki Season 2, Episode 1? What did you think about the first season, and what did you, most importantly, think about last night's episode?
So I agree with that. I'm really vocal in my disdain with Disney Plus. And my problem with Marvel lately is like everyone's an anti-hero. But what I do like what they're doing with Loki is this like redemption arc. It's at least like you said, like he's showing growth. Like he really does seem like he's trying to change and like really actually cares about people now. And I did really enjoy this first episode. I did not like the first season that much. It's not on the bottom tier of Disney Plus shows for me, but it's not in the top either.
Right.
It had a lot of pacing issues for me. That was my main issue. And I think so far with this, we'll see with the next episode, but so far with this, I think they kind of fixed the pacing a little bit. The episode was pretty interesting, like, the whole way through. And then Ki-Hu Kwan is like an Oscar-winning actor, and he was just like a wacky and fun character. I wonder if they're going to show him more and kind of give him a little more to work with. But I don't know. So far, I thought it was pretty interesting. And then, I guess everything with Majors, kind of wondering how they're going to address this going further, if they're just still waiting. And then, the 6-episode format, I absolutely hated it. It never worked. So I don't really know how they're going to address Kang and the big villain and wherever it's going to go, leading up to whatever's next in the MCU. But so far, I enjoyed the episode.
Yeah, and look, one of my big worries was when they started talking about Ki-Hu Kwan from the previews, it looked like he was just going to have a quick cameo. He's got a big role, obviously, in episode 1. And while I don't want this to become the Loki and Obi show, I do hope we get a lot more of Ki-Hu Kwan in the remaining 5. Again, it's, by the way, just in case to be clear, I really liked episode 1. Disney, your 6-episode format is fucking bullshit. Will you stop this nonsense, please, and get to real length seasons? Anyway, that being said, I do think episode 1 got us off to a really good start, and I quite enjoyed it. I hope they're able to carry on that momentum into the next few weeks.
Oh, one more thing. Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
I thought the time slipping was amazing. Because typically
great.
I am not impressed with their visuals lately. They did a great job on the time slipping. It looked painful.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
It freaked me out every time it happened.
Well, I love that conversation in the elevator. It's like you're being born and dying at the same time. It's awful.
Oh, it was great too when they were in the elevator talking, and it goes, "Didn't it look gross?"
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you realize there was this other girl.
So that's one thing. It's a return to that classic Marvel comedic hits, but not being silly or outrageous. It had a lot of those good little comedic moments, but you're not like, oh, well, that was just stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right, guys. With that down, we're going to now move over and start taking your questions that you guys have been sending in, both our live viewers who've been sending in super chats and our YouTube channel members who've been sending in topics. But before we do, we're going to take another quick moment and thank another sponsor of today's episode, my mobile service provider, and they should be yours, the great folks at Mint Mobile. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Mint Mobile. Signing your life away to a big wireless provider is kind of like being trapped on a roller coaster from hell. Sure, it looks like fun at first. They probably even threw in a free phone, but now you can't get off. Month after month of insane bills and unexpected thrills, like overages and surprise fees. If that sounds like your current big wireless plan, it's time to get off the ride with Mint Mobile. For a limited time, wireless plans from Mint Mobile are just $15 a month. That's unlimited talk, text, and data for just $15 a month. You guys know before I came to Mint Mobile, I was paying triple what I am paying now on the standard big wireless plan, and I will never go back. All plans come with unlimited talk, text, and high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. To get your new unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped right to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Mint Mobile for sponsoring this episode. All right, guys, let's get over and start taking your questions, shall we? We'll start off with the super chats that you guys have been sending in while watching live. Unfortunately, we have turned them off at this point, so we've got as many as we can. So, Jonathan, what do we got up first?
All right. First up, we've got Ron H., who says, I'm actually going to watch Loki Season 2, Episode 1 tonight. All signs point to it being a great episode. I know everyone seems to be excited, but so many of the D-plus stuff starts strong and ends well.
Yeah, no, listen, you are 100% right about that. Quite often, the Disney Plus shows start strong. They do not always end strong. But I'm going to take each show and on its own value, on its own merits, and just say Loki Season 2, Episode 1 was off to a strong start. And I really enjoyed it. Do I suspect it may go downhill because that's been the pattern of Disney? Sure. But you know what? I'm going to leave that out of it for now. I'm just going to take each episode as it comes. And you know what? Episode 1 was really good. So here's hoping they can keep that going. All right. What's next?
Seconds from a Disaster writes, not going to lie, I think most of the minutes streamed for Bluey and Virgin River are probably from my daughter and girlfriend. And
you know what? I watched the trailer for the first time. What's it called? Virgin River?
Uh-huh.
I watched the trailer for it for the first time this morning because I said, this is like the #2 streaming show right now. And like, what is this? And I watched it and I thought, this looks like a Hallmark movie. But I guess that sells.
Yeah, when you said it, I was like, okay, it's either like Yellowstone or it's Hallmark. So
yeah, it looks very, very Hallmarkish. As far as Bluey, like your daughter, girlfriend, and Ray watching Bluey. Yeah. It's, you know, I was shocked how many people love Bluey. I don't know, Nadia, have you ever watched Bluey? Like, I was stunned to find out how many people watch this, but have you ever watched it?
Mm-mm.
No, me either.
I don't know what it is.
What? It's about a little animated blue
Come
dog.
on.
she knows what Coco Melon is, but she doesn't know what Bluey is.
I also do not know what Coco Melon is.
I don't either.
All right, what's next?
Zach writes,
By the way, Zach sent in like $20. Thank you, Zach. Appreciate that, man.
A team of multiverse of Avengers led by Toby's Spider-Man, Hugh Jackman, Wolverine, and Deadpool. Take it with a grain of salt. What are your thoughts? Who would you want to lead the multiverse Avengers?
First of all, that just sounds like a mess. That just sounds like a mess of a movie. That sounds more like
Could be a what if.
some dude who does animation making a quick little YouTube video. I wouldn't want to see it. Something like that. Listen, Wolverine is not traditionally a leader per se, right? Basically, your leader should, whatever version of Captain America you have, whether that's Captain Carter, whether that's some other, whether it's Sam, whether it's Steve, ideally it's Steve, but that's your leader. And if not, then maybe Cyclops. So that's who I would see as it. All right, what's next?
All right, Zach is back with another $20 super chat.
Thank you, Zach.
So much. Hi, John and crew. This is going to be a 2-message super chat, as we found out. So bear with me. I keep seeing rumors of the upcoming Avengers movies, and they're all the same. Avengers lose in Kang Dynasty, and in Secret Wars, the TVA recruits. So the TVA recruits
a
we
team
of
got that out of
multiverse
order.
Avengers led by Toby, Spider-Man, Hugh Jackman, Wolverine, and Deadpool. Okay.
So first of all, ignore all the rumors. They're changing writers. They have not been writing for 4 or 5 months. The writer's strike has been on. They had just brought on writers at one point, and it sounds like they're switching writers out. A lot of people, listen, a lot of times people just make up rumors. Here's the problem, though. 1 out of every 20 rumors that we see floating around online about different things ends up being true. And then people go, see, online rumors are true. And then they just forget about the 19 out of the 20 that end up being bullshit, right? Something like this, I think, is just a lot of people throwing spaghetti at the wall, because it's like, well, in the last set of Avengers movies, the bad guy wins at the end, and that leads us into the next one. So that's what they're going to do this time too. And it's possible. I mean, it is a possibility they could do that, but I just have no idea. But listen, there is no final script of either of those movies right now. They're going through a flux. They just moved off each of those movies by a year because they don't have a script. So anybody telling you that they know what's happening in this upcoming movie, I wouldn't listen to them personally. All right, what's next?
All right.
And by the way, thank you again, Zach, for supporting us on that level and sending in those questions, man. We really appreciate that, dude. All right, what's next?
Devin Lita writes, the new host physician media collection would make Sir Robert Meyer Burnett proud, celebrating 35 years of life today. Bring on the filthy.
I have no idea where let me see that again.
Well, she's not our new host. She's our guest. But
physician. She probably meant physical media,
yeah,
not
physical,
physician. The new host physician media
so
collection.
Like her physical media
what's
collection.
the new host physician media collection? I've never heard of it. Yeah, like Nadia, you got a whole bunch of DVDs behind you, DVDs and Blu-rays.
I had Rob on my podcast. We did an episode about physical media.
Oh, get physical? Yeah.
I mean, you got how big would you say your collection is?
My comic collection is ridiculous.
But I mean, like physical media, like DVDs, Blu-rays,
for
things
DVDs,
like that.
not too crazy, but I do have a lot of like old school DVDs that I'll probably have to like get newer versions, like Blu-ray versions of, like old school, like Sopranos, The Tudors, Dexter, Spartacus, like all those I have like on old DVDs. And I have a lot of like Korean movies on DVD.
All right, what's next?
All right. So we did that. So John Redcorn, did you hear Chris Rock is directing an MLK biopic with Spielberg producing? Over under 25% Will Smith is cast as MLK. Now, I don't think MLK will be cast. I mean, I don't think Will Smith will be cast as an extra.
Yeah, no, I don't see Chris Rock casting. By the way, yeah, and it is true. Chris Rock is directing
he is.
this thing, which I'll be honest with you. I don't know how I feel about that. Now, granted, this is not going to be a big blockbuster. I don't know if can you look up his IMDb? I don't know if Chris Rock has ever directed anything.
I think he did.
Did he? I mean, because I don't think he didn't direct that Saw movie.
That's what I thought he directed. Well, let me see.
I know he starred in it. I don't think he directed that. I could be wrong, but like, I often don't think that a big, huge tentpole blockbuster is at all the appropriate place for somebody to be directing their first
I only
thing.
see producer, actor, and writer. I don't see director.
I don't think something that's going to be involving someone as important as Martin Luther King is something that should be somebody's first directorial effort. I mean, listen, I love Chris Rock. Ann and I went to go see Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle in concert in San Diego a couple of months ago. I love Chris Rock. That dude's hilarious.
However, it did say produced by Spielberg. So if you're under the tutelage of Spielberg.
Yeah, but here's the thing about Spielberg. Spielberg puts his name as a producer on a lot of stuff that he never has anything to do with.
Yeah,
That's
which
true.
one? Which movie are you talking about, John? Which movie are you talking about?
Well, name
The
them.
greatest movie ever made?
Well,
Terminal?
he actually directed that movie.
He directed that,
Oh, he
right?
directed.
Which is odd. Which is odd.
That's why it's the greatest.
That's kind of the odd part about that.
That's
movie.
why it is the greatest.
For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, he's talking about The Terminal. Steven Spielberg's One Bad Day at the Office.
No, it's not. Come on.
I still can't believe you like that movie.
It's not just me.
You and
There's someone
Ann.
in your house that
you
loves
and Ann
it too.
both like it. I don't get it.
Yeah, we have good taste.
I thought you were going
right.
to say like Lily or something. Like she enjoyed watching it with you.
No.
All right, what's next?
David Cushmore writes, is there going to be an Ahsoka season 2? What is next for the Bad Batch series and Mandalorian? Is Star Wars going to make anyone or any movies next? What is next for Andor? That's a
They
lot.
are okay. So, Dave Filoni has just publicly stated that an Ahsoka season 2 has not yet been greenlit. And which surprised me at first, because like if we go back and take a look at this, like the top 10 streaming chart came out.
Oh yeah.
On NDI here, yeah. The top 10 streaming chart came out, and Ahsoka isn't anywhere to be found. And even if you just go to only originals, it's only down at number 7, behind things like Who is Aaron Carter, Only Murders in the Building, Dear Child, and Wheel of Time. So I was a little bit surprised at first when Dave Filoni said they haven't greenlit Ahsoka season 2, but here's what I think. there's going to be a season 2. I have a hard time believing that they won't do a season 2. If for no other reason than that they've already announced that Dave Filoni is going to be directing this live action Star Wars movie, which is basically going to be the Mandoverse, which I'm sure Dave Filoni is going to turn into the Ahsoka-verse. But if for any other reason alone, I think that almost guarantees they're going to do an Ahsoka season 2. I mean, they certainly didn't answer any mysteries or any questions at all in season 1. They left everything open-ended.
J.J. Abrams loved it.
Yeah, J.J. Abrams was all about it. But no, listen, I think I would be very surprised. Let's put it that way. I would be very surprised if they didn't do season 2. I know it didn't get the numbers they were kind of hoping for, but there's so much else that they're doing that's kind of building on that I'll be shocked if they don't do a season 2. I think we are absolutely going to get a season 2. As far as Andor goes, yeah, they already announced a long time ago, Andor season 2 completely greenlit. The season's completely written. They were just waiting for the writer's strike and now the actor's strike to be done and they can get everything going on that. So yeah, that's all that. Andor season 2 is definitely coming. Andor, the best thing Star Wars has done since the original trilogy. All right, what's next?
Matt Boyle. Hey, John, are you planning on seeing U2 in Vegas anytime soon?
Yes, Ann and I got our tickets. We're going to be going to Vegas to the new Sphere, which like every celebrity coming out of that is saying is the greatest concert experience ever. Like U2, greatest band ever. And what is, everybody seems to unanimously now say the MGM Sphere is probably the greatest concert venue in the world. And if you guys have not seen any of the video footage of fans, I mean, just go look up LeBron James video of it, but it looks insane. And I've stood in front of the MGM Sphere. It's just from the outside, it's insanely amazing. I can't wait to see it from the inside. So yeah, we're definitely going. All right, what's next?
All right, moving on to member chats here, or member questions, I should say. Daijobu writes, Rotten Tomatoes, 25% of Exorcist Believer was totally accurate. Massive plot holes, inconsistencies throughout, subpar acting, and it lurched and stopped like a crappy old wooden roller coaster. 2 out of 5 from me.
That's too bad. I got to admit, I've been getting kind of excited about that movie. I thought the trailers were really good. I thought the kids looked really super creepy. I thought we could be in for something good. Now, again, I haven't seen it myself yet. Anne decided she didn't want to see it. So it's like, okay, so I got to figure out a time that I can go myself to go see it. But yeah, it's kind of unfortunate to hear that. Thanks for giving us your thoughts on it, man. All right, what's next?
King Daddy Goat writes, hey, crew, I hope all is well today. I checked out the first episode of Loki this morning. And I actually really enjoyed it. I love the overall chaotic atmosphere from where we left off from season 1. Here's to hoping this episode wasn't just a warm fart on a cold toilet seat. Have a great Monday. Bring on the filthy day.
You know what? Nadia, you pointed out that one of the problems, and I agree, that one of the problems with Loki season 1 was pacing. There was definitely pacing issues in there. Sometimes it felt frantic, and all of a sudden it felt like you're dragging like through quicksand or something like that. The pacing of that first episode was fantastic. I mean, it had this frenetic kind of. Did you see that as an improvement over season 1?
Oh, absolutely. Already just in the first episode, like I was paying attention, and interested in the episode, like the whole time. It was like exciting, like every moment. It was just, I don't know. For me, it was better.
Yeah, I thought they did a great job with the pacing on that. All right, what's next?
Alan writes, happy Friday, Campea crew. I watched the last episode of Loki. Seeing Ki-Hugh Kwan makes me so happy. Do all of you have any actors that make you happy when you see them?
I mean, Ki-Hugh Kwan's become that. I mean, it just makes me happy to see him on screen. I don't know why. Zach Galifianakis is still that for me. Mm-hmm. When I see Zach Galifianakis, it puts a smile on my face. I love that guy.
For a lot of people, Paul Rudd is common.
Paul Rudd, absolutely. If Paul Rudd is in something, that thing just to me got 10% better.
Honestly, Owen Wilson, he's in this too.
Yeah, love Owen Wilson. Is great. Funches. That Anne, Anne lights up whenever Funches is in anything. She completely lights up. But yeah, Ki-Hugh Kwan popping up in this has just kind of elevated it for me a great deal.
Who is it in WandaVision? He plays the agent. Randall
Park. Asian Jim.
Randall Park.
Randall Park. Yeah. Oh, I love Randall Park.
Great seeing him.
By the way, if you have not seen Randall Park and
Ali Wong.
Ali Wong's Always Be My Maybe, I think is what it's called.
Right.
Yeah, that's it, right? Always Be My Maybe.
Right.
If you have not seen, I'm not a huge romantic comedy guy, but it's on Netflix. Keanu Reeves is in it too, by the way, and he's amazing in it. Even if you're not normally into rom-coms, I highly, 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 highly recommend Always Be My Maybe. Really, really funny movie. All right, what's next?
Okay. Jay Superboy, hey, I'm loving Owen Wilson more and more, and after watching Loki, I feel like having a happy meal. Keep it filthy. Oh yeah, because
I just love that dude. We had a kind of a serious discussion after the show yesterday here in studio about Owen Wilson. Because like for a while there, Owen Wilson was like right up there with Will Ferrell's and why am I freezing on Steve Carell, like as the comedy guy. Like if Owen Wilson is in something, you could probably get excited about it. And then there was that whole thing about the attempted suicide, which I got to admit, for me, it took me a number of years to be able to laugh with Owen Wilson again. Because like for the first couple of years, it was hard to laugh with Owen Wilson because you knew there was obviously some really dark stuff going on with him that put him in a bad place in his life. And it was hard to laugh again. And I feel like just the last couple of years I've gotten back to that place. Because man, Shanghai Noon, that's the movie that I discovered Owen Wilson, was Shanghai Noon. I
Princess
loved
Pee-Pee.
him. What's that?
Princess Pee-Pee.
Yeah,
We gotta rescue Princess Pee-Pee.
I love him. And that's a terrible name. John Wayne. Where are you, John Wayne? That's a terrible cowboy name. Love him. That obviously Wedding Crashers is a top 10 greatest comedy of all time for me. I could watch that every year for the rest of my life. Wedding Crashers is like one of the most laugh out loud per minute movies I've ever seen. I just love the guy. And to see him really be able to deliver that peak Owen Wilson-ness opposite of Tom Hiddleston and their dynamic together, it really elevates Loki for me. All right, what's next?
We got Dildar Sans Glorious writes, John, just wanted to say your performance in The Incredible Hulk absolutely moved
That's right.
me. You should have gotten an Oscar for Best Unseen Background Character. I got a shrine dedicated to it.
I'll tell you, listen, I will often refer to it as my movie. I refer to Ed Norton as my co-star in that movie. I thought I absolutely played soldier number 4 and security guard number 2 better than any of those roles I've ever been played before. I'm an exceptional actor. I was robbed.
Get your residuals.
Yeah, where's my residuals? Where the hell are my residuals? Yeah, that's right. All right, what's next?
Abel, wrong one. Abel writes, was it just me? But in the first 5 minutes of Loki, I was more scared about the presence of Kang than in the whole Ant-Man movie. I mean, I feel like yes.
100%. 100%.
I just kept thinking, like, here's our dread.
Without even having Kang on screen, you felt the dread presence of Kang more than you did in all of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, even though he was physically there. And that was one of the keys for me, if you remember. That was one of the 5 keys for me that they really needed to accomplish. And that shadow of Kang hung over everything in episode 1. And they nailed that part, and they need to continue to nail that. All right, what's next?
All right, we've got Naftali writes, do you believe that the new Jon Favreau Dave Filoni universe is their way of creating their own sequel trilogy? And do you think that Luke and Leia will appear in their film and that it will be loosely based off the Heir to the Empire story?
No, it's not going to be loosely based off. I mean, you can do anything and say it's loosely based, so that's another thing. I don't know what they're trying to do, to be honest with you. Their Mandoverse has struggled a little bit as of late. Book of Boba Fett was just garbage. Mandalorian season 3 was the weakest of the 3 seasons. Obi-Wan, which really did, well, Obi-Wan didn't have anything to do with Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, so you can't blame Obi-Wan on them. But I thought Ahsoka was fairly weak. That's just me. But I don't know. I don't know what they're trying to do. I'll be honest with you. I'm not even sure that movie's going to happen. Because this is Lucasfilm we're talking about right now.
Yeah.
Their whole business model is announce movies that we never make. So, I mean, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see how that goes.
The one to announce.
What's next?
All right. Callum writes, hey, crew, can we just talk about the explosion scene in Gen V last night?
Oh, well, I don't want to go into it because I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't seen it. Again, main character has blood control powers, and they've already done some pretty cool things with it, but there's somebody trying to take advantage of her, and she does a creative use of blood control power that made anybody with the Y chromosome real uncomfortable. Real uncomfortable. It was it was something else. All right, we got time for 2 more. What's next?
All right. We've got Srujan writes, I didn't realize how much I missed Loki until I saw season 2, episode 1. I love this show.
I have not loved the show, but if they keep doing what they did last night, they're getting me back on board. Because, man, they got off to a really good first episode start, man. That was a really good first way to come out of the gates strong, answer that bell. Every sports analogy I can throw in there. They did a great job, and I hope they're able to continue it. All right, last question of the day. What's next?
All right, this last one's from Dr. Stinky. I'll read the question while I roll credits on our wonderful channel members here. Dr. Stinky writes, hey, John and crew, I don't know about you, but in my humble opinion, Loki Season 2, Episode 1 is the best piece of Marvel art has released since Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. Everything is perfect in this episode. Everything from the cinematography, the story, the plot, the score, the set. It felt like 80s horror sci-fi. Everything felt fresh. Am I crazy, or did a little bit of the tone feel like Wes Anderson? Anyway, love y'all. Bring on filthy.
I mean, look, the great thing about the art is that it hits us all in different ways, and it hit you that strong. Listen, I loved the first episode. I'm going to back the truck up a little bit on the whole. It's the greatest piece of art that Marvel's done, and what I would not go that far. It was a real good first episode, but there's a ton of stuff that the episode did not do. It's just one episode. It's episode 1, right? There's a lot of things that it did not do. What it did real well. But I would list about 10, 15 things that Marvel has done since Guardians of the Galaxy 1 that have been better than last night's episode of Loki. But here's the important thing. The important thing is it felt like I was watching Phase 3 Marvel again. Like it felt like they were firing on all cylinders. And out of the 10 projects that they've put out since Endgame, only 2 or 3 of them have really felt that way. I think Shang-Chi felt like great classic. I think Shang-Chi is probably the best thing Marvel's done since Endgame. WandaVision was fantastic. Ms. Marvel is fantastic. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was fantastic. The Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special was fantastic. I really liked, I almost said 30 Days of Night. The horror short they did.
Werewolf by Night.
Werewolf by Night. Like
That was
30 Days of
fantastic.
Night. Werewolf by Night, I thought was really quite excellent. So no, I wouldn't go that far at all. That Loki, that last night's episode was the best thing they've done in 10 years or anything like that. But it was really good start. So yeah, I thought that was great. All right, guys. And that'll do it for today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here and making this little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in those questions, for you guys watching live, for sending in those super chats, to our YouTube channel members for sending in your topics. Not only did you give us great things to talk about, but you also supported us as you did it. And all of us involved with the show, thank you guys so very much for your support. Don't forget, a little bit later this afternoon, we're going to have an open mic. Come on back and join me for that. Also, we have a podcast feed. Make sure you go and subscribe to our podcast, whether it's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it, because you can't always be in front of a YouTube video. Maybe you're commuting, maybe you're at work, maybe you're off for a jog. Make sure you got our audio podcast on your podcast service, so it'll be there when you need it. I want to thank, first of all, the guys in the room with me, Ray Ora.
Have a good weekend, everyone.
Jonathan Voico.
See you Monday.
And guys, you need to go follow Nadia at Gotham Geek Girl on Instagram, on YouTube. Nadia, thank you so much for being here. And where else can people find you other than Instagram and YouTube? Are there other places you can direct them?
Predominantly Instagram, YouTube, my website, gothamgeekgirl.com. And I also do podcasts with Otakus and Geeks. And I started my own podcast, so I am on Spotify.
And is it just called Gotham Geek Girl?
T with triple G.
Okay, there you go. And guys, thanks so much for being here. And until next time, my friends, Bye-bye.